Picture this. Saturday morning, you're standing in the coffee aisle at the grocery store. Your hand reaches out automatically. Same blue bag, same brand, same roast. You've bought this exact coffee for 3 years straight. You toss it in your cart without thinking. You don't check the price. You don't glance at alternatives. You certainly don't wonder if there's something better 2 feet away. This feels normal. This feels smart. This feels like the behavior of someone who has life figured out. But here's what you don't see. That bag costs $6.50. The store brand next to it costs $3.99. Same origin, same roast profile. Blind taste tests show no difference. You buy coffee twice a month. That's an extra $60 a year. Over a decade, $600 in direct costs, plus opportunity cost if invested. And that's just coffee. Now multiply this behavior across every category of spending: your streaming services, your phone plan, your insurance, your gym, your lunch spot, your grocery brands, your subscriptions. You are running on autopilot and it is bleeding you dry. My name is Alex, and I've spent years studying the gap between what we think makes us financially secure and what actually does. Today we're dissecting one of the most invisible wealth killers in modern life: the psychology behind repeat purchasing, why your brain defaults to the familiar even when it costs you dearly, and how this pattern might be draining thousands from your bank account every single year. By the end, you'll never look at recurring expenses the same way, and if you take action, you could redirect thousands annually without sacrificing anything you actually value. Let's begin. There's a term that doesn't get enough attention: habitual repurchasing. This is different from brand loyalty. Brand loyalty means you consciously choose a product after evaluating alternatives. Habitual repurchasing means you buy something because you bought it last time. There's no evaluation, no comparison, just repetition. The average consumer makes the same purchasing decision for about 70% of regularly bought products. 7 out of 10 items in your cart aren't there because you chose them today. They're there because you chose them once, months, or years ago, and your brain has been hitting repeat ever since. This extends far beyond groceries. Research shows typical households maintain 3 to 6 active subscriptions: streaming platforms, music apps, cloud storage, meal kits, fitness programs, gaming services. The list multiplies constantly. Here's the disturbing part: consumers systematically underestimate subscription spending by more than double. When asked to estimate monthly costs, people guess around $110. The actual figure when tallied, $273. That gap represents over $1,900 per year of spending that exists below conscious awareness. The pattern continues into experiences: same restaurant for date night, same vacation spot, same stores, same route to work, same menu items without opening it. None of this feels problematic. It feels efficient. You've optimized decisions by automating predictable parts of life. But optimization implies selecting the best option. What you've actually done is select an option once, then stop selecting. Your past self made a choice. Your present self is still paying for it, month after month, year after year, regardless of whether better alternatives emerged or whether you even remember why you chose it originally. Let's quantify this. Say your repeat purchasing habits cost an extra $200 monthly compared to actively evaluating alternatives. That's $2,400 yearly. Over a decade, $24,000 in direct costs. If invested in a market index averaging 8% returns, the opportunity cost climbs to $37,000. And $200 monthly is conservative. For many households, the autopilot tax is double or triple that. This isn't about deprivation. It's about waking up to the fact that massive spending happens beneath conscious awareness, driven by psychological defaults catastrophic in a consumer economy designed to exploit them. Evolution didn't design your mind for 15,000 products at the grocery store and infinite subscription options. It designed your mind to conserve energy and avoid danger. The familiar is safe. The familiar requires no cognitive effort. There's a cognitive bias called status quo bias, your brain's preference for the current state of affairs. Loss aversion plays a major role here. The psychological pain of losing something you have is roughly twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining something new. When considering switching providers, your brain doesn't evaluate neutrally. It frames it as potential loss, triggering disproportionate anxiety. Then there's regret aversion. Stick with what you have, and it continues being mediocre. That's circumstance. Switch to something new, and it's worse? You blame yourself. Your brain would rather accept known mediocrity than risk regrettable decisions. Add decision fatigue to the mix. You make thousands of tiny decisions daily: what to wear, what to eat, which route to take. Each decision depletes finite mental energy. By the time you're reviewing subscriptions or standing in the coffee aisle, your brain is exhausted. It defaults to the easiest choice. No choice at all. Pick what you picked last time. There's also the identity component. You're not just buying products, you're buying a sense of self. You're an iPhone person or Android person, Nike or Adidas, Whole Foods or Costco. These choices weave into self-concept. Switching feels like betraying who you are. Marketing departments understand this at a molecular level. They're not trying to convince you their product is best. They're trying to make one sale, then engineer your brain to never reconsider. They want you from consideration phase to habit phase as quickly as possible. Once you're in habit phase, you're functionally locked in. You become what they call a captured customer. This worked differently in previous generations. Product categories were smaller. Markets were more stable. If you found a good mechanic or reliable brand, sticking with them made sense because search costs were high and innovation was slow. That world is gone. Categories now have hundreds of competitors. New entrants with better value emerge constantly. Prices fluctuate. Technology improves. A company offering a great deal 5 years ago may now be coasting on legacy customers while offering terrible value. And yet your brain still operates like it's 1974. It learns once and repeats forever. The final trap is the illusion of safety. Deep human instinct equates familiar with secure. Your current situation might not be optimal, but at least you know what you're dealing with. Change introduces uncertainty. Uncertainty feels dangerous. But here's the inversion. Real danger isn't in evaluating alternatives. Real danger is never evaluating, because while you're standing still, the ground shifts beneath you. Inflation erodes dollars. Better options emerge and disappear. Your refusal to adapt isn't keeping you safe. It's making you fragile. Let's move from theory to money. This isn't abstract. This is wealth transfer happening in real time every month from your account to someone else's. Category 1. Subscriptions. Research suggests American households spend between $200 and $275 monthly on subscriptions. Not all is waste. If you actively use a service providing value, that's legitimate. But surveys reveal the average household has at least 2 subscriptions they rarely or never use. Free trials they forgot to cancel. Services subscribed for one show and never returned. Let's be conservative. 2 unused subscriptions at $10 each monthly. That's $20 or $240 yearly. Over 10 years, $2,400 paid for nothing. If invested at 8%, that compounds to nearly $3,700. But even among used subscriptions, when did you last price check them? Streaming services raise prices regularly. Gym memberships have promotional rates for new customers, half what loyal members pay. Phone plans get expensive, while competitor plans get cheaper. Insurance providers count on you never shopping around. Concrete example, auto insurance. Industry analysis shows loyalty costs an average over $400 yearly compared to shopping around. Insurers offer aggressive discounts to acquire customers, then slowly raise rates on existing ones. People switching every 2 to 3 years pay significantly less than those staying a decade. That's $400 annually, $4,000 over 10 years, over $6,000 if invested. Category 2. Brand premiums on commodities. Name brand cornflakes, $4.50. Store brand, $2.75. Ingredients nearly identical. Taste tests inconclusive. Manufacturing often in same facilities. You're paying 75 cents premium per box for the logo. Buy cereal twice monthly. That's $18 yearly on one item. Multiply across every commodity in your cart. Pasta, rice, canned goods, cleaning supplies, trash bags. Conservative estimate, you're overpaying $30 to $40 monthly on commodities by defaulting to name brands out of habit. That's $360 to $480 yearly, $4,800 over a decade, or over $7,000 invested. Category 3, service providers. Your internet. Your cell phone. These aren't fixed costs. They're negotiable contracts, yet most never negotiate. Providers regularly advertise promotional rates for new customers, 30 to 50% lower than existing customers pay for identical service. Call threatening to cancel? They'll often match the promotional rate. Most people never call. If your internet costs $80 monthly and promotional is $55, you're paying an extra $300 yearly for not making a phone call. Over 10 years, $3,000. Cell phone plans follow the same pattern. Major carriers charge $70 to $100 monthly for individual plans. Budget carriers using exact same networks charge $25 to $45. Coverage identical. Speeds identical. You're paying for branding. Switching from major to budget carrier saves $50 monthly or $600 yearly, $6,000 over 10 years, over $9,000 invested. Category 4. Locked ecosystems. You bought an iPhone years ago. Apps purchased, photos in iCloud, music in Apple Music. Switching to Android means losing purchased apps, rebuilding cloud setup, learning new interface. So you stay. Even when comparable Android phones cost half as much. Even when you barely use ecosystem features that locked you in, you're paying a $700 premium per phone every 3 years for inertia. That's $233 yearly, $2,300 over 10 years, $3,500 invested. Let's total unused subscriptions, $240 yearly, insurance loyalty tax, $400, commodity brand premiums, $400, service providers, $900, locked ecosystems, $233. That's $3,173 yearly, $31,730 over a decade. If invested at 8%, that grows to $48,600. These are conservative estimates. For many households, the autopilot tax is double this. The brutal part? None of these hurt. They don't feel like mistakes because they're invisible. You're not making bad decisions. You're not deciding at all. And that absence of decision is costing you a house down payment over 10 years. The digital age made this worse. The mechanisms keeping you locked into repeat purchases are now automated, invisible, designed by behavioral psychologists working for corporations. Trap 1. Auto renewal. Subscriptions used to require active decision-making. Write a check. Mail it. Fill out renewal forms. There was friction creating natural evaluation points. Now everything auto-renews. Credit card on file. Service continues indefinitely. You never think about it. Companies turn the default from opt-in to opt-out, and human psychology is terrible at opting out. You signed up for a free trial of a niche streaming platform for one show, watched it, forgot about the service. It's been charging $11 monthly for 18 months. You've paid nearly $200 for something used once. Trap 2. Loyalty programs. Framed as rewards for loyalty. In reality, psychological handcuffs. You accumulate points, achieve status tiers, unlock perks. All that investment makes switching painful, even when competitors offer better base value. Airlines master this. You fly a certain airline not because their prices are best or service superior, but because you have status, priority boarding, free checked bags, faster miles. Switching means starting over, so you stay. Even when their fares are 15% higher, even when routes are less convenient, you're trapped by sunk cost and the illusion that status has value. Trap 3. Ecosystem lock-in. Tech companies perfected this. They don't sell a product, they sell entry into a walled garden. Once inside, every additional purchase makes leaving more costly. Smart speaker, smart lights, smart thermostat, doorbell camera. They connect seamlessly within one ecosystem, but not to competitors. Switching means replacing everything. So you don't switch. You keep buying from the same company, even as prices rise and quality declines, because switching cost is now thousands. Trap 4. The convenience tax. Modern life is exhausting. You work long hours, you're mentally depleted. Faced with spending 30 minutes researching alternatives or clicking reorder on what you bought last time, you choose convenience. Retailers know this. Buy again button on everything. One-click reordering. Reminder emails when you're predicted to run low. They make repeat purchase effortless and alternative purchase effortful. You pay for convenience. The buy again item often isn't the cheapest option, even on the same site, but comparing requires work, and you're tired, so you pay the premium. Let's dismantle common justifications for never questioning repeat purchases. Myth 1. Quality always costs more. Sometimes true, often not. Generic medications contain same active ingredients as brand names, manufactured to identical standards. Blind trials show no efficacy difference, yet people pay triple for the name brand. Store brand batteries often from same factories as name brands. Store brand spices chemically identical. $5 HDMI cables perform identically to $50 cables in blind tests. Price-quality correlation isn't linear. It's not even consistent. At the low end, cheaper often means worse, but once you reach middle tier, correlation breaks down. The difference between a $30 item and $90 item is often just branding. Myth 2: switching is risky. This treats all uncertainty as equally bad, but switching risk is asymmetric. Downside of switching to worse alternative? You switch back. Upside of switching to better alternative? You save money indefinitely. Most services now have trial periods, cancellation windows, money-back guarantees. The consequence of trying a competitor and disliking it is 1 hour of time and no financial loss. Meanwhile, consequence of never trying competitors is that you definitely overpay, possibly by large amounts, for years. Not switching is the risky behavior. Myth 3: my time is too valuable. People claiming their time is too valuable to audit spending will spend 6 hours binge-watching shows and 30 minutes scrolling before bed. The issue isn't time scarcity, it's prioritization and psychological discomfort. Researching alternatives feels like work, triggers decision fatigue, forces confronting the possibility you've been overpaying for years. Psychologically easier to avoid the task entirely and justify avoidance by claiming you're too busy. You're not too busy. You're too uncomfortable. Myth 4: loyalty is virtue. You've been with your insurance company 20 years. You believe this makes you a good person, loyal, trustworthy. This is anthropomorphizing corporations. They're not your friend. They're not grateful. They don't value your faithfulness. Most companies explicitly price discriminate against loyal customers. They know you're unlikely to leave, so they raise rates. They reserve best offers for new customers because those customers still have the option to go elsewhere. Your loyalty isn't being rewarded. It's being exploited. How do you fix this? You need systematic framework for auditing recurring expenses, not a one-time project. A quarterly habit taking 1 hour, saving thousands annually. Step 1. Make invisible visible. You can't optimize what you don't track. Create comprehensive list of every recurring expense, subscriptions, memberships, utilities, insurance, brands bought repeatedly, default experiences. Use credit card and bank statements. Go back 3 months. Highlight anything appearing more than once. This step alone will shock you. You'll find forgotten subscriptions. You'll realize how much you spend in categories you thought negligible. Step 2. The 3 critical questions. For every expense, ask: 1. When did I last compare this to alternatives? If more than a year ago, your information is stale. 2. If starting from zero today, would I choose this? Remove sunk costs and status quo bias. Pretend you just moved to a new city. Would you choose your current provider? Or are you choosing them because you chose them before? 3. What's the true cost compared to best alternative? Not advertised cost, true total cost including fees. Then find best legitimate alternative and calculate difference. That difference is what you're paying for inertia. Step 3. Calculate your inertia tax. Add up recurring expenses where you identified meaningful overspending. This is your annual inertia tax, the amount you're paying for psychological comfort of not making decisions. For most people, this number is between $2,000 and $5,000 yearly. For some, over $10,000. Step 4. Set triggers. Biggest obstacle isn't identifying problems, it's remembering to act. You conduct audit, identify overspending, intend to fix it, then life happens and nothing changes. Set calendar reminders for 30 days before annual subscriptions renew. That's your cancellation or negotiation window. Set quarterly reminders to price check 3 largest recurring expenses: insurance, phone, internet, 15 minutes every 3 months. Set monthly reminder to review statements for forgotten subscriptions. Step 5. Test alternatives. Don't take my word that alternatives are better. Test them yourself. For brands, buy store brand once. If you genuinely can't tell difference, switch permanently. If you can tell difference and it matters, stick with name brand. But know it's a preference worth paying for, not autopilot error. For services, use trial periods. Try budget cell carrier for 1 month. Try competitor streaming service. Collect data instead of guessing. Theory is useful. Execution changes your trajectory. Here are concrete strategies you can implement immediately. Strategy 1. The renegotiation calendar. Put every annual service on calendar 30 days before renewal. When reminder triggers, call your provider. Tell them you're reviewing options and found cheaper alternatives. Ask if they can match competitor price. Over half the time, they'll reduce your rate rather than lose you. If they won't budge, switch. This single strategy, applied to just 3 services yearly, typically saves $600 to $1,200. Strategy 2. The 90-day challenge. Pick 1 recurring expense category. Commit to trying cheaper alternative for 90 days. Switch to budget cell carrier for 3 months. Cancel premium streaming and rotate through free trials. Buy only store brands at grocery store for 1 quarter. 90 days is long enough to form new habit and get past adjustment period. Short enough it feels like experiment, not permanent sacrifice. At end of 90 days, evaluate honestly. If cheaper alternative is genuinely worse in ways that matter, switch back. But if equivalent or better, you've identified permanent savings stream. Strategy 3. Subscription purge days. Twice yearly, dedicate 1 hour to canceling every subscription not actively used in past 60 days. Don't negotiate with yourself. Don't keep it, just in case. If you didn't use it in 2 months, you don't need it. You can always resubscribe if wrong. This simple practice typically eliminates 3 to 7 subscriptions, saving $200 to $600 yearly. Strategy 4. The switching savings spreadsheet. Create simple spreadsheet with 3 columns: old cost, new cost, annual savings. Every time you successfully switch to cheaper alternative, log it. At bottom, have running total of annual savings and projected 10-year value if invested. This gives you dopamine hit every time you optimize, reinforcing behavior, and it provides concrete number to point to when people question why you bother. Knowledge without action is entertainment. You now understand the psychology behind repeat purchasing, financial cost of autopilot spending, and frameworks for optimizing recurring expenses. None of that matters unless you actually do something. Here's your challenge. Before you go to bed tonight, complete 1 task from this list. Task 1. Open banking app and credit card statements. Scroll back 3 months. Identify every recurring charge. Write them down. Every subscription, every auto pay, every predictable purchase. This takes 10 minutes. You'll surface subscriptions you forgot existed. I guarantee you find at least one you can cancel immediately. Task 2. Pick 1 subscription you rarely use. Cancel it right now. Don't tell yourself you'll do it later. Don't convince yourself you might need it someday. Cancel it. If you're wrong, resubscribe next month. If you're right, you just reclaimed $100 to $200 yearly. Task 3. Identify your single largest recurring expense with alternatives: insurance, phone plan, internet. Whatever it is, spend 15 minutes researching competitors. Get quotes. You don't have to switch today, but you need to know what you're paying for loyalty. Once you see the number, inertia becomes harder to justify. Choose one. Do it now, because reading about optimization is comfortable. Acting on it is uncomfortable. And the difference between the two is the difference between staying where you are and actually building wealth. You're not failing financially because you made one catastrophic decision. You're failing because you made one decent decision years ago and then stopped deciding. You automated, you defaulted, you let inertia do the work. And in a static world, that would be fine. But the world isn't static. Markets evolve, competition emerges, prices shift. What was optimal 5 years ago is suboptimal today. Your refusal to reevaluate isn't stability, it's stagnation. And stagnation is expensive. The companies you're loyal to aren't loyal to you. They're raising prices every year, counting on you not noticing or not caring enough to leave. They have entire departments dedicated to maximizing extraction from existing customers before those customers finally wake up and switch. You're subsidizing their profits with your inertia. The fix isn't complicated. It doesn't require expertise. It requires one thing: willingness to question your defaults. Ask yourself, every quarter, for every recurring expense, if I were starting fresh today, would I choose this? If the answer is no, or even I don't know, that's a signal. That's money leaving your account for no reason other than momentum. Stop paying for momentum. Start paying for value. The average person applying these frameworks saves between $3,000 and $7,000 in the first year. That's not small. That's a vacation. That's an emergency fund. That's 6 months of groceries. That's investing capital that compounds into financial independence. And the source wasn't deprivation, it was attention. 15 minutes monthly spent questioning defaults instead of accepting them. This isn't about obsessing over every penny. It's about spending consciously instead of reflexively, valuing your financial future enough to audit the present, understanding that wealth is built in margins, in recurring expenses that seem too small to matter but compound into everything. You're going to spend money for the rest of your life. The question is whether that spending reflects your priorities or just your habits. Stop buying the same thing because you bought it before. Start buying the same thing because you evaluated it against alternatives and decided it's best. That shift in mindset, applied consistently, is the difference between financial mediocrity and financial success. Make the shift.